George Floyd's loved ones, including his daughter, delivered emotional statements during former police officer Derek Chauvin's sentencing this afternoon. I'm Madeline Rivera in Minneapolis with a closer look at today's proceedings.
An American hero who was missing in action for 70 years is finally laid to rest on American soil. I'm Zach Dodge with the story.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abbey. Happy Friday. Mercy Hospital in Joplin is changing its visitor policy because of a recent rise in COVID-19 cases in the area. Mercy announced today that it will once again limit the number of visitors. Starting Monday, patients will be allowed only 1 visitor per day. Change comes as Mercy says they have as many COVID-19 inpatients now as they've had at any point during the pandemic. Mercy officials say, and they point out that none of the people in their ICU for COVID-19 have been vaccinated. The United States and the global community are concerned the Delta variant of COVID-19 may hinder reopening efforts. Fox News correspondent David Lee Miller has more from New York City.
If you're not vaccinated, don't put it off any longer.
President Biden pleading with Americans to get vaccinated as soon as possible. This as the more transmissible Delta variant of COVID-19 continues spreading nationwide, accounting for at least 20% of all new COVID cases. Concerned health officials are sounding the alarm, describing the strain as a potential roadblock to recovery in the coming months.
The Delta variant is currently the greatest threat in the U.S. to our attempt to eliminate COVID-19.
The Delta variant is already hindering reopening efforts across the globe. Residents in parts of Sydney are being told to shelter in place unless for essential goods, following an outbreak of COVID-19 cases in the city. Meanwhile, Israel reimposing their indoor mask mandate after 90% of new infections were linked to the Delta variant. And Russia is mandating vaccinations for certain occupations in a nation where only 11% of the population is fully vaccinated. Here at home, the Biden administration is calling June the month of action, vowing to provide vaccination assistance to areas with low inoculation rates. A number of states that have seen lower vaccination rates are reporting an uptick of cases in recent weeks.
We were beginning to see major slowdowns in vaccination rates in states where there was vaccine hesitancy. That was one of our real concerns.
A new analysis shows nearly all U.S. COVID deaths are now among people who aren't vaccinated. In New York, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
Meteorologist Doug Keddy joining us now with the first look at the forecast. Rain's coming, huh?
Yeah, showers, thunderstorms. Most of these have been in our northern counties as we have worked through the evening hours, but now this line is slowly sinking toward the south. These are mainly just strong storms, but we are getting a few low-grade severe thunderstorms out there, and if we do, the main threat is just kind of quarter-size hail, winds at 60, but these are big rainmakers, and these are going to produce a lot of rain, but you can really see them from about Pittsburgh to Lamar, North Nevada, Fort Scott, Chanute, over toward Yates Center. So quite a bit of rain. These are going to continue to push in. You can see all the moisture out to the west across central parts of Kansas. So the end result, we're going to get a lot of rain tonight. And of course, I'm going to break that down for you here in a bit.
Doug, thank you as always. We learned the fate of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, who was convicted of killing George Floyd. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera has more on this sentencing from Minneapolis.
It was an emotional afternoon. George Floyd's daughter addressing the court through video, saying that she misses playing with her dad and wishes that he could still be here with her. Heartbroken family members say this sentencing is just one step closer to closure for them. Former police officer Derek Chauvin has been sentenced to 22.5 years behind bars after murdering George Floyd on a Minneapolis street last year. Chauvin was convicted of second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter after a month-long jury trial this past April.
If you could say anything to your daddy right now, what would it be?
It would be, I miss you and I love you.
Floyd's death on Memorial Day last year sparked worldwide outrage and protests after a teenager captured cell phone video of Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds as Floyd pleaded for help. Chauvin's mother addressing the court for the first time, saying she supports her son and believes he is innocent.
Derek is a quiet, thoughtful, honorable, and selfless man.
Chauvin making a short, vague statement to the court.
I want to give my condolences to the Floyd family. There's going to be some other information in the future that would be of interest.
3 other officers who were on scene pleaded not guilty to related charges. Their trial is set for March of next year. In Minneapolis, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
An American soldier from Jasper County, Missouri, missing in action for 70 years, is finally laid to rest properly. KOAM Zach Dodge gives us a look at the emotional funeral that was a long time coming.
One final ride for an American hero.
It's been a long time coming.
After 70 years, Sergeant Lloyd ALUMBAUGH is laid to rest in American soil. An emotional time for his nephew, Wes ALUMBAUGH.
We always had his picture hanging in the house, and my dad never gave up on fighting him.
Lloyd ALUMBAUGH grew up in Reeds, enlisted in the Army when he was 21, and served as a member of the 7th Medical Battalion, 7th Infantry Division during the Korean War. He was last seen alive November 28, 1950, near the CHAUVIN Reservoir in North Korea.
Sergeant ALUMBAUGH and the crew were greatly outnumbered. It was an ambush, actually. They were fighting a war, but they hadn't counted on an ambush.
His remains were not among those identified after the Korean War. It wouldn't be until decades later, in 2018, that a summit between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un would lead to the return of his remains to American soil.
I have to wonder sometimes on why it took so long. We've had 12, 14 presidents since Truman, and took Trump to get him back, but all that matters now is it's finally done.
After being escorted to the cemetery in Reeds, he was given the recognition he deserves and laid to rest between his mom and dad.
The boy deserves to be recognized, along with all of them who lost their life.
Skating was big back in the early 50s and stuff. Said he was one of the best skaters around. He could about outskate anybody. See, I was only a year and a half old when he died, so I never got to know my Uncle Lloyd. I say again, why did it take so long? But all that matters now is it's done. I'm feeling glad that he's not on Korean soil anymore. He's on our soil. Finally.
In Reeds, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
ALUMBAUGH's name is recorded on the corpse of the missing at the National Memorial Cemetery of the Pacific in Honolulu, along with other service members who are still missing from the Korean War. A rosette will be placed next to his name to show he has been found. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Don Goody served in the U.S. Air Force. Native of Parsons, Kansas, Goody spent time in Qatar, earning numerous awards. But we are proud to thank and salute Tech Sergeant Don Goody, tonight's four-state hero. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast. And a bit later, area coaches launching a training website aimed at multi-sport athletes. Gonna have details in sports.
One and done at the home store.
Hot and humid once again for us today. We've had showers and thunderstorms in our northern counties, but most of us have stayed dry, but that's definitely going to change for all of us during the overnight hours tonight. Look at our northern counties. Showers, thunderstorms, really over the past 5, 6, 7 hours. But now look at the line, slowly sinking south. So most of these storms now, Lamar, Pittsburgh, over to Parsons, Fredonia, Neodesha, and points northward. Most of these are just strong storms that make a lot of noise, some small hail. A few of these have been low-grade severe, and if we are getting any low-grade severe, it's just due to quarter-size hail and winds kind of at about 55 to 60 miles per hour. But I think the main threat here is going to be very heavy amounts of rain as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight. Still severe thunderstorm watches out mainly to our west. Let's go ahead and zoom in a bit. You can see these really from Butler, Nevada to Lamar and then over toward Pittsburgh. And again, there's some stronger cells in here. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, very heavy amounts of rain. So here's Pittsburgh, Girard. We can go off toward the west You get just north of Parsons, Erie, over towards Chanute, Fredonia, up toward Yates Center and also Iola. So these are pretty strong storms, but look how it backs all the way through central Kansas. So all this moisture, this line is going to continue to kind of push off toward the south, and then we'll get a secondary band that just kind of sweeps through everybody during the overnight hours tonight. So areas, especially along and north of I-44, you're going to get a lot of rain. All right, here's midnight. Still, the line hasn't made it that much farther south. It's really from Joplin north, but we still get these pockets of very strong storms continuing to work through. Let's go to 3 o'clock in the morning. You can see it kind of sinking a little bit farther south. Heavy amounts of rain continues. Here's 6 a.m. Here's kind of the last batch that rolls through during the morning hours for us tomorrow. And then we get a little bit of a break, and then we'll get more storms once again as we head into tomorrow evening. Looks pretty good. Indigo sky, casino and resort. We do have a lot of clouds, of course, outside, currently sitting at 85. Dew point still high, so our heat index is still sitting at about 89 degrees. As we go into tomorrow night or afternoon, after we get this morning batch of showers and thunderstorms, we're going to get some additional pop-up storms during the afternoon. I think a good chunk of the day is going to be dry. It's still going to be humid, not as hot as we go into the upper 80s. Then again, tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, we'll get scattered showers and thunderstorms that redevelop across the region. So we're looking at tomorrow night, and then heading into Sunday, we do it again. Morning storm Sunday, and then again, we'll get some afternoon storms as well. Rainfall, though, could be pretty heavy, at least over the next couple days. Look at this. Through Sunday, a lot of areas are going to pick up 2, 3, even 4 inches of rain. So it's going to be pretty wet over the next several days. 87 tomorrow, 85 on Sunday, 83 on Monday. Thunderstorm chances sticking around each and every day of next week.
No kidding, those storms are slow moving.
Yeah,
wow.
They are, and they're dropping inches of rain.
Yeah,
so
that's the bad part. All right, Doug Heddy, thank you so much. Coming up, the latest on search efforts underway in Florida.
The desperate search for survivors in a collapsed condo building continues for a second day. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Surfside, Florida. All of the latest on those efforts coming up.
Monday morning, manageable, and Omar Honda's got it.
At least 4 people are dead, 159 still missing after the collapse of a condominium near Miami, Florida. Crews are working around the clock, determined to find survivors. As fears increase, that death toll could increase. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more from Surfside, Florida.
Families and loved ones holding out hope as crews frantically search for survivors in the rubble.
We're hopeful that she's there, alive, and we're going to see her soon and be able to hold her hand and kiss her.
It's a race against time as searchers comb through the massive heap of concrete, metal, and personal belongings for a second day, hoping to find anyone alive trapped underneath.
They are searching nonstop, and they are searching and trying to save people's lives.
Some 130 firefighters are working in tactical teams of 6, searching from above for pockets where people could be trapped, and below tunneling, using saws and jackhammers to look for signs of life. Cranes were brought in Friday to start removing some of the larger debris, allowing crews to sift through more of the pile. Hindering search efforts, heavy rain, strong winds, and fires caused by shifting rubble. But officials say nothing will stop the frantic search.
Our hearts are with our first responders who have been going in, desperately seeking people, motivated to find them, hopeful that they will find them, and confident that their efforts will pay off.
Even more desperate are the families waiting for answers after the collapse. Those inside sleeping 1 minute, and in an instant, everything was gone.
Buildings just don't fall down in America like that, so there had to be something very wrong with that property.
As authorities work to determine what caused the building to come down, search crews say they are driven by the hope of finding anyone alive. In Surfside, Florida, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Next, the VP's visit, several call overdue.
Vice President Kamala Harris makes a visit to the U.S.-Mexico border to get a first-hand look at what federal agents are dealing with. I'm Casey Stiegel. We've got the latest coming up.
We're here to help.
Lowest prices at B&B Fireworks.
Vice President Kamala Harris insists the Biden administration is making progress in dealing with the surge in illegal immigration at the southern border. Today, she paid a visit to a Texas border facility to get a first-hand look at the situation. Fox News correspondent Casey Stegall has this story from El Paso.
Vice President Kamala Harris visiting the U.S.-Mexico border on Friday, taking a tour of one of the country's busiest ports of entry here in El Paso, where thousands of people cross every single day.
We have looked at a system where people have been housed in inhumane conditions over the last many years, an asylum system that has been broken and that needs to be reconstructed. And in 5 months, we've made progress, but there's still much more work to be done.
The vice president's trip building on an earlier visit to Mexico and Guatemala that was focused on what she calls the root causes of migration. Friday's visit examining the direct impact those root causes have had on the border.
Most people don't want to leave home, and when they do, it is because either they are fleeing some harm or because to stay means that they cannot provide for the basic necessities of their family.
The White House has pledged to, quote, build a fair, humane, and orderly immigration system. But with the number of migrants crossing at its highest point in 2 decades, many Republicans say the administration's decision-making has made the problem worse.
The border crisis that we're dealing with right now is a direct result of the open border policies that have been put into place by the Biden administration.
Administration officials say that Republican criticism did not factor into the VP's trip, although it does come a few days ahead of another high-profile visit to the southern border, former President Donald Trump. That's the latest from El Paso. Casey Stegall, Fox News.
History from the European Space Agency, hoping to launch the first physically disabled astronauts into space.
One can afford furniture at Import Warehouse.
The European Space Agency hopes to launch the world's first physically disabled astronaut into space. The 22-member space program has just closed its latest recruitment call for astronauts, and they've received 22,000 applicants, of which hundreds of our para-astronauts or physically disabled astronauts. In a step towards inclusivity, ESA's newly appointed head says he's hoping to convey a new message while he's at the helm, that space is for everyone. Of note here too, a quarter of the applicants were women, which is also up 15% from a decade ago. Awesome right there. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way.
You may have heard about a nationwide fireworks shortage, but how does that affect things here in the 4-state area? A representative for Jake's Fireworks breaks it down, coming up.
And gonna go blueberry picking as part of our next trip in our 4-state staycation series.
Area here.
Our nation is dealing with a fireworks shortage with the 4th of July fast approaching. But how are things right here in the 4-state area, a place where a lot of people enjoy their fireworks? KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to fireworks sellers in both Kansas and Missouri to find out.
You may not realize it looking at local store shelves, but the U.S. is dealing with a fireworks shortage, and it's even affecting things here in the 4-state area, despite the region being home to industry giants like Jake's Fireworks. And wouldn't you know it, part of the problem stems from the pandemic.
A lot of people, because of canceling the bigger shows and that, shot fireworks last year who had never shot fireworks. Last year was the biggest usage of consumer fireworks in history.
Jake's Fireworks sales officer Mick Marietta says sales were gangbusters last year for the Pittsburgh Fireworks Company, with so many people celebrating at home. But that quickly turned into a shortage that's been compounded by shipping complications.
You go into the after fireworks season, and I know this surprises a lot of people, but we start receiving product in July for the next year. And that stuff just didn't start coming, everything didn't ramp back up and start producing as quickly. And then you started running into shipping problems. Interestingly enough, just the containers that products came on became tight.
Across the state line and right outside of Carl Junction, Donya Lipscomb and her brother run Hometown Fireworks, and they say they're dealing with similar fireworks shortage issues.
It seems like each time we order fireworks, there may be different items that we can get. We can't necessarily get the same item each time we've ordered this year.
So what does all this mean to you, the consumer? Mick says prices have increased, but not drastically.
You hear in the news all the time people talking about lumber and these extreme prices of lumber jumps, right? It's not like that. I mean, many of the people that have already been in and buying are like pleasantly surprised.
But both these sellers say with a fireworks shortage at hand, there is no time like the present to make sure you have what you need for the 4th.
There's definitely fireworks for everyone that wants them, but your selection may dwindle closer to the 4th. So I would recommend shopping early for the best selection.
In Kansas and Missouri, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
Just a reminder for our Kansas viewers, you can legally buy fireworks in Kansas on June 27th. Oklahoma and Missouri residents can already legally purchase fireworks. Beware of blue-green algae in parts of Oklahoma's Grand Lake. The Grand River Dam Authority recommends an advisory remain in effect for the lake's Horse Creek area. This after recent monitoring confirms the presence of the potentially toxic algae. Blue-green algae may resemble thick pea soup, green paint, or bluish, brownish, or reddish-green paint. When it washes up on shore, it can form a thick mat on the beach. The GRDA recommends people just avoid swimming in those areas. Girl Scouts of America is trying to make the world a better place, one tree at a time. Under a new program called Project Planet, Girl Scouts will now be able to earn a badge for planting a tree. Some Girl Scouts in Columbus, Kansas today met up to put in some work to earn that badge. Good job. These days, there's a planner for everything, it seems. Wedding planner, website planner. Well, there's now a husband and wife business in Joplin that plans picnics. You call them, tell them where you want the picnic, how many people. They provide some picnic food, plates, even games, pillows as well. You can check out The Picnic Planner, JoeMo.com, ThePicnicPlanner, for more information. Some area kids today got a lesson on nature and wildlife. Pitt State's Nature Reach program hosted a camp for kids in 1st through 3rd grades. The camp featured activities including insect collecting, bird watching, and interacting with live animals.
Parents are always really excited that their kids are getting to do something aside from watching TV. Some of them have said that they themselves have started planting potatoes because the kids have so much fun digging up potatoes on garden day. And so I think not only does it help the kids, it helps the parents and gets them excited about taking their kids outside.
Camp ran all week and was capped off today with an open house for the kids and their parents. Those of us who've had homegrown produce know this is a fact. You can't beat homegrown produce. And while you can get fresh fruits and veggies at your local farmer's market, there's nothing quite like hand-picking yourself. There's something about it, right? For our next 4-state staycation, KOAM photojournalist Liam Mandelbaum takes us to the Robertson family blueberry farm, where it's all about getting hands-on.
So we are just south of Joplin, and this is Robertson Family Farm. The farm has been here for about 20 years. We purchased it about 8 years ago. So this is truly a family farm. My in-laws own the farm. My husband and I work it. Also, we just have other family members who come out and help. So it's just it's a family-owned blueberry farm. We have buckets over here on a table. We also have belts. So some people like to put their bucket on a belt so they can pick with 2 hands. So two-handed picking. They go out into the field, they find blueberries, they pick them, and they come back, weigh them up, and we send you home with a bag of berries. We have 4 different kinds of blueberries. So it's like apples. They all taste like a blueberry, but they have a little bit different flavor to them. Kids are really territorial about their berries, so we let them bag their own berries. So we just put it over the top of the bucket and pour those berries down into a bag and dirty dishes. And then we go over to the weighing station. So then we just stick these berries right here on the scale, and they're $3 a pound for what you make, and so that's going to be about $6. So there's no ticks or chiggers or thorns or anything like that. So it's kind of like going to a park. Most kids love blueberries. So it's a good thing to just come out and, you kind of let the kids run around. It's important for kids to see where their food comes from. Truly, the difference in taste is amazing. The ones you get from the store, you think they taste great, and then you have a fresh one and you're like, oh my goodness, this is a blueberry. And blueberries themselves, I mean, it takes a good couple of years for them to even be established as a bush. I mean, and so this is a long-term commitment. This isn't something that you're going to plant and be able to pick off of the next year. So, I mean, it takes a couple of years for them to get established. So, you know, we're in it for the long haul.
Definitely a family-friendly place, I know from experience. If you want to check out the farm yourself, it's open Tuesday through Sunday from 8 a.m. to noon and 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. We have more information on our KOAM Morning Show page. A bit later, looking at a new requirement at several workplaces.
Unvaccinated Americans now make up the majority of new COVID-19 deaths. I'm Kevin Cork in Washington with more on that and more on how more employees around the country could have to roll up their sleeves and take the shot just to keep their jobs. That's just ahead.
Indigo Sky Casino is kicking off.
Well, of course, hot and very humid for us today, and showers and thunderstorms have been developing over the past, 5 or 6 hours, but most of these have been in our northern counties, but these are creeping south, and everybody will get into the action as we go through the overnight hours for us tonight. All right, looking at our Skywatch storm tracker, you can see most of these storms are in our northern counties. Then over the past couple hours, they're jumping to county south, another county south, and this will continue as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Majority of these are just strong. They make a lot of noise, produce a lot of rain, heavy amounts of rain, maybe some very small hail, but very few of these have actually been at the severe limit. These are not like tornado making storms. These are just heavy rain makers, but you can really see them from Butler, Nevada to Lamar, Pittsburgh, Girard, and then stretching all the way over toward Yates Center and also Fredonia. In fact, we'll get a closer look. Moderate to heavy rain once you get to Nevada and Stockton Lake, and then where you see the brighter reds, that's showing us a little bit heavier rain. So from Lamar over toward Pittsburgh, here's Girard up to Fort Scott. We go a little farther west, just to the north of Parsons. Erie is into the action, Chanute, Iola, and then Yates Center. And we do actually have a severe thunderstorm warning for this cluster that's moving out of Greenwood County into Woodson County and also Wilson County. And this is for winds at about 60, penny-ish size hail. But again, most of these are just strong thunderstorms. But look how they really develop all the way back into central Kansas. So this line will continue to just kind of sink a little farther south. And then this line developing will take care of everybody else who hasn't had the rain yet, late tonight into tomorrow morning. So everybody's going to get into the action. Let's go through time. Here's about midnight still. Most of the storms kind of lined up where they are now, but picking up once you get out west of Montgomery County on the Kansas side, and then everything just kind of works through. So here's 3 o'clock in the morning, so we'll get strong storms. And again, most of these strong could have a few low-grade severe. Then we get another batch that rolls in late tonight into tomorrow morning. So here's 6:30 in the morning. Showers and thunderstorms last through a good chunk of the morning. Then we'll get a break by the time we head into the afternoon hours. Looks okay. Here's a live shot. Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, Indigo, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. 7th and Rangeline still sitting at 85 degrees. So it's hot, it's humid, even though it is dark across the region. All right, more storms start to pop up late in the day tomorrow into tomorrow evening. These are going to be very hit and miss, so I really think most of the afternoon looks okay. We'll start at 72, 83 by noon. Hot and humid, high temp of 87, and then additional scattered showers and thunderstorms get going again for us tomorrow night. And then we really do this just about every day as we go through the next week. Also, rainfall amounts pretty heavy over the next, this is just 48 hours. A lot of areas are going to pick up 1, 3, 5 inches of rain, so that's why we have a flash flooding threat across the region. 87 tomorrow, 85 on Sunday. I guess good news here, temperatures not into the 90s. Mainly in the 80s, but stays pretty wet.
Yeah, watching that radar for now anyway is like watching paint dry on the wall.
Yeah, they're slow moving. Yeah, they're not moving fast.
But as you said, packs a punch.
Yeah.
Doug, thank you. Coming up in sports, Pittsburgh Post 64 aiming for their first win in the Matt Newberry Memorial Tournament. Also, a group of area coaches launching a new training website aimed at providing fundamental work for players and coaches. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
Here on Fox 14.
Today is day 2 of the Matt Newberry Memorial Tournament, hosted by the Pittsburgh Post 64 American Legion baseball team. Now, last night, Post 64 dropped its tournament opener, falling 2-1. Tonight, faced the complete game Gonzalez team out of Kansas City, aiming for their first win of the weekend. A big second inning for the Patriots. Brandon Hall over the infielder's head for the double. A wild pitch will bring him home. At that point, it is 3-0. Then Shea Munkin, shallow hit to the infield, base runners showing off some speed. Munkin safe at first. Cameron Williamson scores, gets the lead to 4-0. Gonzalez fighting back now within 2. Donovan Hill, big hit out to left. Run comes in to make it a 1-run game. Patriots, though, pull away to win this one tonight, 12-3. The Kansas City Royals continue their 10-game road trip tonight, kicking off a series against the Texas Rangers. Kansas City is 1-2 to begin that road trip after dropping 2 out of 3 to the Yankees. The Royals 33-40 coming into this one. Whit Merrifield line drive here, run scores on the triple. Merrifield extends his hitting streak to 11 games, Royals up 1. Rangers, though, do get going. Nate Lowe in the 4th. Hunter Dozier misplays it. 2 score, Texas up 3-1. They would add more in the 4th. Right now, Royals trail at 9-2 in the top of the 8th. The St. Louis Cardinals haven't scored more than 2 runs in 4 straight. They play game 2 against the Pirates tonight. Now, they have scored 4, but they're still down 1 in the top of the 6th. Dylan Carlson has a pair of RBIs for St. Louis. A group of area coaches have launched a new website aimed at helping young athletes improve their skills and promote the idea of being a multi-sport athlete. Now, we caught up with a couple of those coaches today to talk about the idea and why now was the time to follow through. It's an idea that started back in December.
In the days of internet training and recruiting and everything online, that Elite and Premier and all of those things that they kind of sell you on to make money, we absolutely want to be the opposite.
Dave Wiemers is a part of a group that launched the website 3sport.net earlier this month. It's a site dedicated to online training for multi-sport athletes with instructional videos from 9 different coaches with college experience, including Wiemers, former Pittsburgh State men's basketball coach Kevin Muff, and former Pitt State baseball coach Tom Myers.
When you take a group of people that are devoted to their profession, want to see everybody have an opportunity to be better, it was pretty cool to get involved.
It's a subscription-based service, but the goal is to promote the idea of kids playing multiple sports, reach athletes who may not have access to coaching, and provide fundamental work for both players and coaches.
We want this to be fundamental. We want it to be grassroots. We want it to be stances and starts and what you do before a play even starts. And those things that allow you to maybe eventually get to be a good player, we think are the things that are missing. There's some high-level stuff on there, don't get me wrong. But there's also some things on there where if you've got a 6-year-old, you can teach them something from our videos.
I think it's going to be a real special thing for the kids that maybe aren't close enough to some of the bigger cities with academies that do things year-round for different, maybe even single sport stuff. This is something that any individual can get a hold of and hopefully go out and better their game.
Wiemers says the group plans on adding more coaches and more videos in the future, including adding softball to the list of sports offered on the website. And that's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Getting a COVID-19 vaccine could save your life. It could also help keep you from losing your job, as new data shows just how many vaccinated people are dying from the virus compared to their unvaccinated counterparts. And as more businesses are mandating their employees get these shots. Fox News correspondent Kevin Cork reports.
More than 65% of all American adults have received at least 1 dose.
New data from the CDC is reinforcing the efficacy of COVID-19 vaccines. According to research compiled by the Associated Press, 99% of Americans dying from COVID-19 are not vaccinated.
We are asking our employees over the next 30 days to report to us their vaccination status.
These numbers come as more businesses across the country are requiring their employees to get the shots. Officials in San Francisco are warning that more than 35,000 city employees could lose their jobs if they choose not to become vaccinated. Some city union workers say this policy is a no-go.
We are in favor and in support of anybody and everybody getting the vaccine if he or she desires. However, we are not in support of mandatory vaccines.
Meanwhile, Hawaii is riding the waves of the vaccine rollout, announcing major rollbacks in COVID restrictions for tourists.
Effective July 8th, individuals traveling in the United States who are traveling domestically will be able to bypass quarantine and pre-travel testing requirements when traveling to Hawaii if they are fully vaccinated.
And banking giant Morgan Stanley has unveiled its new vaccine policy, saying any employee who's not vaccinated won't be allowed to work back in the office. In Washington, I'm Kevin Cork, Fox News.
Gonna wrap up this Friday by checking out the movies now in theaters, on demand, and streaming. Big action-packed franchise continues in theaters. A couple of documentaries join streaming options. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorak with a look at this week's new releases.
Been a long time, though.
F9 continues the Fast and Furious saga. So how much bigger does it get? And how much is really made to be seen on the big screen?
This is a film that you really have to see on the big screen. And Universal is even making it worth your while, because if you see F9 in an IMAX theater, you also get this extended preview of next year's Jurassic World movie.
We heard y'all needed a little love out here.
The family coming back together, all of the movies sort of merging together as the Fast franchise gets ready to sort of launch into a finale.
You look like you just seen a corpse. Also in theaters, Werewolves Within.
It gets the horror right, it gets the comedy right. It is 100% fresh, currently at Rotten Tomatoes, and it's about the local residents of this town that is inundated with werewolf attacks.
Hulu adds the horror mystery False Positive.
They go to visit a fertility doctor and they think that they have hit the jackpot with this guy. He's played by Pierce Brosnan. They become pregnant and then some really weird things begin to happen.
Amazon Prime brings the musical journey Mary J. Blige's My Life. Disney Plus has the celebrity chef story of Wolfgang.
What the hell was that?
On Netflix is the action thriller The Ice Road.
Liam Neeson is tasked to join a group of big rig truck drivers in their attempts to save a group of miners who are trapped with only hours left of air. It becomes apparent that maybe there are certain parties that do not want these miners to be saved.
He seemed nice. Plus, Eliza Schlesinger's Good on Paper, about seemingly finding the perfect guy.
You don't really know anything about him, do you?
The comedy is based on a true story written by Eliza with some stand-up included. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorak, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Going to leave you with a video of the Roman Colosseum. Hey, have a great, safe weekend. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.